Behavioral science has shown that success is something we create for ourselves, and choosing to win is an option we all have. But as the world changes at a fast pace and organizations grow even faster, individuals are expected to perform well as lead others around them. So how does one do that?
So a lot of folks who do well, and we spend a lot of time on this when we coach high performers, on really getting them to see what is their conflicts handling style, and whether it's a style that enables others, with encourages resolution of conflicts for the common good, or resolution in an either or format, because win-win behaviors happen in that spectrum where fox and owl behaviors start to play out. Otherwise they are win-lose or lose-lose behaviors, and eventually everybody loses. So it's great to get an understanding of yourself, and once you have a great understanding of yourself, you'll be able to get some sense of how the others are. If people have worked with you long enough, you know what their styles would be.
Okay, so if this doesn't come naturally to you, and you know very clearly that you're one of those fight, flight or freeze kind of people, how can you train yourself to actually say that maybe I should, rewire myself or retool myself to understand that?
So there's rewiring happening at two levels. One is the cognitive understanding that yes, win-win should happen. One is the cognitive understanding that I need to be more constructive in things in my conflict resolution with others. But a lot of rewiring needs to happen at the limbic system level, because fight, flight, freeze are hard coded in the limbic system. Now to be able to control that impulse, to be able to keep your amygdala in control, or choose not to respond when the amygdala hijack takes over, is where your limbic system rewiring happens. So they would typically tell you that when you are trying to give a flight, when you're under stress, or when there's a high potential conflict that's or a high stakes conflict that's taking place, as a rule, don't respond impulsively. Wait till you respond. Pause before you respond. It's giving you a greater chance of keeping your hormone flow normal, and giving you a greater chance to let your neocortex and your rational abilities connect in your response. Otherwise, you'll respond only from your emotional abilities.
So as Tarun says, it is important to understand the wiring of your brain to be able to allow yourself to take the right decision. For this, you need to know who you are. And behavioral scientists have found that people who have a great understanding of their own self do exceptionally well in a team. But what does it take to know this?
I think two fundamental deals. The first is to recognize that interdependence is crucial. Growth as an independent professional, as an independent person, is limited. As interdependent people, there's a lot more possible. The second thing is to recognize when there is interdependence, why we get into fight flight largely is because we get into a mentality called scarcity, whereas there is abundance available, and abundance is first a mindset rather than any market data telling you. You have to be able to look for abundance. Just the way we spoke about people being able to look for opportunities, you have to look for abundance. Once you are able to do that in a conflict, you will recognize that teddy, sharks, turtles may not be the most appropriate in a situation, and you may be better off choosing responses which are on the assertive spectrum, where you could win and the other person could win.
But Tarun, this is great in an ideal situation where the world plays with fair rules. Okay, what happens when there is politics, insecurity? Because that's normally the downfall of any organization, and that is not a conducive atmosphere for individuals to be good team workers, be focused on the goal, etc. And that happens a lot, especially in tough times, So how do you deal with a situation like that?
Those are givens, and you have no choice but to deal with them. Fortunately, there are tools and skills available to deal with them. And one of the biggest tools that at least we find ourselves using with people is the entire bit of how to be assertive. Assertiveness is very simply defined. Assertiveness is getting what you deserve while staying in the relationship with the other. I've got that vendor who's pushing me, or I've got a principal who's pushing a vendor very hard. Now I know our successes are interdependent. Now how do I strike a win-win? Otherwise it's very natural to strike a win-lose or a lose-win, right? It's very natural to say, oh, this is not working, so just break out. The skill about assertiveness is first understanding, what do I deserve in this relationship? Once you have clarity, so in a sense, in each skill, your level of self-awareness just needs to keep getting deeper. self-awareness on this aspect, self-awareness on this aspect. What do I deserve in any interaction? Assertive people recognize that they deserve as much as the other. Both of us have equal rights in an interaction. Aggressive people would typically give themselves a lot more right in any equation than the others. Submissive people would do the reverse. They'd be subservient to your right. Whereas assertive people say there's parity. So the first thing is getting into a mindset that I deserve something and you deserve something. Like you say, any skill building is first about the attitude. The skill comes second. If the attitude is aligned, if you've got an attitude called I deserve something and you deserve something, skilling becomes a little more easy.
But do you think this works in under any circumstances, even stressed out circumstances where there is, politicking and the organization has been tied up in knots, your team has been tied up in knots? Does this hold true there too?
When we study assertiveness, there are certain principles of assertiveness. And one of the principles of assertiveness really talks about the fact that you've given it a big shot. You're being assertive, but you have no control over whether the other person's being assertive. If the other person isn't assertive, what do you do? And consistently. So that it does talk about the fact that even giving up assertively is assertive behavior. There are some situations which just don't work. You choose not to be in that relationship, and it's fine. Not everything can be turned into a win-win, right? At times you just need to preserve your self-respect. You may choose to terminate a particular interaction.
When to walk away is also an art, and those who are exceptional and successful will tell you that this is an important lesson in the road to the top. But how do you assert yourself in the face of resistance? How can you make your plan work? How aggressive should you be when you're up against all odds? Next week we focus on these two big A's to find out how you can work them for your success.
So failure is just one end, it's success in a different light. It's trying to teach you something. Either you get intimidated by it and you get into your shell, or you say, hang on, what is it trying to teach me?